you know, third time's the charm. So I filmed for 6 months this video. It was gonna be 2 parts because it was gonna be, I don't know how long it was gonna be in total. But the first part was under 4 hours. And I was almost done. I had edited part 1. And I had just finished filming part 2 and was gonna start editing that when my iPad decided to destroy that beautiful 4 hours. This version, much shorter. It's the second part of this filming is like an hour and a half. This one's gonna be shorter than last time because I am hangry. Because I went to take a screenshot for the thumbnail like a normal person, and when I went to delete it after I had sent it to my computer, I accidentally deleted it, and because it didn't exist long enough for it to be updated into my iCloud, it is gone forever. So this part's being refilmed. Luckily it was only for 5 of the books, so it should not be that bad. But basically, for 6 months I filmed, edited, did all this work for this video, and then my iPad decided to destroy most of that work. I did have the original clips, but I couldn't do, I hate editing. Editing is my actual brand of torture. So I could not make myself go through that. So instead doing basically no editing for this version. Basically all I gotta do is throw in the pictures of the books and make sure that the ends and beginnings are good. Of the 2 clips that are going to be this. But basically I was very upset. It was this whole big thing. I explained very well in the last one, so I don't think I'm explaining it all. But basically, the point of it was to go through the backlog of my TBR, mostly physical TBR, and also like narrow down some of my tastes and such. Of course, I deleted 1 of 5 books. These are the 4 that are actual physical books. I'm just gonna hold them. I don't want to set them back down. I just put them all away again. First one was Ariana by Jennifer Saint, and you can actually see the cover. When I originally filmed this, I did not know how focusing or putting myself in the actual frame well enough to hold up a book, because I'm so smart. Now I film on my phone, which we recognize one problem. It's called I should not delete things unless I'm absolutely sure. Okay, we recognize this now. This one I rated 4 stars. It is going to be, did I even properly explain what this video is? I don't think so. This is just a mess because I've already filmed this, so I don't know what I've said or what I haven't said. Basically I decided to go with a much smaller version where I do a basic rundown. I had done a very like mini 20-minute version where I do a like 1 sentence rundown plus rating for each book for the outro of the original version. Though I decided to do like a kind of like middle ground version where I go like a minute or 2 into each book. It's more than a minute or 2 based off of the actual length, but I go a few minutes into each book and then leave it at that, because one, I mentioned a good chunk of them in the January, February wrap up, but also there's one person who I mentioned, you to, the one for you, to, and so like I said that I was gonna give them my full reaction, that when we were talking about both of our dislike of the book, which, as I've already filmed that, I go ham, I go deep into it. Moral of the story, I have trust issues. But basically, this is me, my thoughts on these 26 books, each with, starting with the alphabet of the letter, blah blah blah, for 6 months worth of reading. There was also a thing about the average rating of all of them. I think it's 3.58. I don't have the computer up here because it's almost dead. So is my phone. So this is going to be fast. 3.58 stars, which is about my average rating in general. So not that upset with it. Hoped it would have been higher, but whatever. First one, Ariadne, Greek retelling. adult Greek retelling. If you like Circe, you'd like this one because Circe is Ariana's aunt. I did not know this was dual POV with Ariana's sister. This jacket is slowly slipping off, but I'm ignoring that. The point of this was to see if I really enjoy Greek retellings, especially adult ones. The answer is, yeah, I guess I do, but I'm not going to buy any more because so far I've rated every single one 4 stars. That being said, I haven't read the Song of Achilles yet. I think my problem is that I need them to have like a little something extra, which I think is what Song of Achilles is going to do for me. But this one didn't, so 4 stars like the rest of them. That being said, the writing of this one, so far my favorite of those, so leave that as you will. After that was one that I did not expect to like as much as I did. It had such low ratings on Goodreads. I say such low. It's like not as high as I expected, but all my Goodreads friends and people I follow who have read this rated it 4 or 5 stars, and I rated it 5 stars. And this is The Boyfriend Project by Chong. One day I will actually pronounce it right. I do have to read the sequel. I haven't even thought about reading the sequel until now, but basically, so trust issues come in. I've got to set these other ones down so I can point, because I don't remember characters' names. So, this is an office romance. The point of this was to see if I like office romances. I read a few in 2021. Not sure if I do. This one I did. So clearly there can be something in them, but it's got to have, again, something else in there for me to really enjoy it, which this one does. But basically, he works for some government agency investigating, like, money laundering and stuff. And someone in her company is, like, the company she works for is doing a lot of money laundering. So he's undercover, has a new employee. She is head of a new, like, she's really important. And all this stuff is, like, this really big deal. What she does, and all this fun stuff. And romance ensues. Trust issues, again, can be brought up because technically he does lie to her about his identity, but, like, I understand why. Like, it makes sense. Legally, 100%. Like, it makes sense. And he does make it up to her, so. But the first chapter is hilarious. So basically, she's hanging out with her sister, getting ready for a date or to go out or something. And her sister is, while she's putting on her makeup, her sister's like going through Twitter, and there's some woman tweeting about her date, how bad her first date is going. And as more details come through, she realizes this is the first date that her boyfriend took her on. And so she's like, wait, what? So she goes to the restaurant, because she knows what restaurant, because it's the same first date, and confronts him. And then another woman shows up, who he is also dating, and confronts him. So these 3 women are confronting him. It's very funny. And they make a pact to, instead of focus on relationships like society and the world wants them to, they focus on themselves. And so they all, like, want to do different things. One of them wants to build her business, personal business, as a personal trainer and whatnot. And another one wants to actually find actual hobbies. And she wants to secretly build this app that she had been planning and working on for many years, and finally actually build it. It's beautiful. I loved it. A lot of beautiful conversations in here. As you can tell, I tapped it up. It was great. 5 stars. After that was, I just took the dust jacket of one of them off, but that's fine. I'll fix that because that's the next one after this one. This one is Cinderellas Dead by Kalyn Barron. I think it's like The Poison Heart. It's the one that just came out or something like that. Which I will read. I rated The Train, seriously, now. I'm just gonna continue. I don't care. At this point, how much more can go wrong in this filming, in this video in general. But basically, I said her name was Bree, but I figured out that her name is not Bree. So when it comes to L, and I said, oh, this is the one with Bree, that's what I'm talking about. I thought she was Bree. Her name's Sophia. How did I get that so very wrong? So, this is one of 2 fairy tale retellings, that I read for this. This is about Sophia, in this world in a very cultish way, which may be because I was reading cult books at the time, but, like, technically does still give me cultish vibes. It's this thing that when you're a female and you turn 16, you have to go to this yearly ball. Like, your parents go into debt to make sure you look nice for this ball, because this is where you meet your future husband. You have 2 years, 2 tries to find a husband, who will then pay your parents for you, which in theory should pay off the debt they went into to find you a dress, blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff. But the men can be any age. Very rarely are they 16, 17, 18 like they are. At one point, Sophia mentions that one of the men up there is old enough to be her grandfather. So, like, very questionable. But also, she gay. There's multiple gays in this book. She's gay. There's secrets about the original Cinderella story. There's because, like, this original Cinderella story is the basis of their whole entire country type thing. And a lot of that type of stuff. I liked it, I guess. The characters were pretty good. The writing was okay. It's just, not what I wanted from a fairy tale retelling. It wasn't quite my favorite. That being said, I will read her other books, because I think the more she writes, the more I will enjoy her books. So I rated that 3 stars. That was good. Now I gotta put the dust jacket back on. Of, Dark of the West by Joanna Hathaway. Which way does this go? Okay, this way. This one is very important to me. And also one of the very few ones that I actually remember the characters' names, but that's because I had to refilm. This is technically the 4th time I'm refilming this one, because I had to refilm it for the original, because most of it was out of focus. I'm so smart. So this is about Ari and Ethan and planes. There's a lot about me talking about what shirt I was wearing and how it connects with the planes. Sadly, you get to miss all of that from the original. So, Ari is the princess of a country. Ethan is the son of a general. 3rd son of a general. His mother gets murdered in the beginning of the book. And, his father believes that it is Ari's mother who is the one who, ordered the hit, because she is scared the general is going to attack her or something. I don't know. He, has stocks or something a lot with war things, like fuel and such. So if a war happens, he's gonna get a butt ton of money. And Ari's mother is technically not from the country she is ruling currently. Her husband was. She was from another country. They got married, and now she is the queen after he died, until Ari's older brother ends up taking over. Ethan goes undercover as just a normal plane pilot to get information from Ari about her mother so that he can help his father take Ari's mother down, except he feels guilty, and they slowly build a relationship, and it's kind of cute. The love letters that he writes while drunk, 10 out of 10, favorite part. He flies a lot of planes. I don't care. I really wanted more of the war, but less of the planes. It was like very opposite of each other, but it was a thing in this book a lot. I'm not sure if the next one's gonna have a lot more planes. I think the cover also has a plane on it. That's it. This is the side with the plane on it. So I'm not sure, though I am reading the next one next month for a different video, so, like, hint, hint. But this one, I did love it. It was slow for me to get into, but the last, like, 150 pages was pure chaos, and I love chaos in books. This book taught me that, as well as that I love political intrigue, because in that chaos, with a lot of political intrigue, girl goes ham. Ari became the icon we all need, and I stan her. I really want her to actually just start murdering people in the next book, but that's just because I'm crazy. Don't know, where I'm at, she does not know Ethan's true identity. That's another thing. Ethan goes by his mother's maiden name. So while her brother did figure out who he truly is, and her mother did know all along because she was, like, friends with his mother. Listen, if that does not become a gay secret romance, I don't know what to do. But Ari does not know who he truly is, so, and where this book ends, like, she still does not know. So that's gonna be interesting to see. That's my thoughts. 4 stars, really enjoyed it, but but also it is too long and was too slow in the beginning. Like, it took too long to get into it, and also it took way too much time on plane stuff. Like, I recognize we needed to see that he actually flies planes, but you could have done so much actual war stuff in general instead of that, or on top of that, like, switch out half of it for that, and I would have been so much happier. So 4 stars. And then the next one is also 4 stars, which is an ebook, so I don't have to hold it up. And that is Every Heart a Doorway by Sean McGuire. The first book in the series that I do have to reread before I continue the series, but I will, because I rated it 4 stars. It was a mystery type book. It reminds me of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think that's it. Though, I think I read like 2 or 3 of them, and then I DNF'd one, and the ones that I did finish, I rated 3 stars. I did not care for that series. This one, love. It was very much more what I wanted. Got a lot of diversity in it, which I now know is not a rare thing for Sean McGuire. I have read a few of her books under her Mira Grant name, which is Into the Drowning Deep and Rolling in the Deep, the novella. Like the novella more, rated that one 4 stars, and Into the Drowning Deep 3 stars, which, you know, officially I know that I prefer her writing in short form, novella form, less than 200 pages, which is fine, because, like, honestly, I love it. Also, she's great with these magic systems and such, just beautiful. The magic system, beautiful. The characters, beautiful. The gratuitous murder, Dark of the West could use some of that. Like, kids' eyeballs being removed, kids' hands being removed. I also think there was one where someone's brain was removed. Like, it was chaotic. I think after this one, each book is about a different character that was mentioning this one in a different world. So, it's gonna be different from this one, which is why I have to reread this one so I remember the characters. But I did really enjoy it, and I gave that one 4 stars. And now, on to the next one that was not deleted, and this is much shorter than it originally was, but I'm mad, okay? Hear me out, I'm mad. But, like, past me says hi. Oh, look at that, I matched my mug. The mailman came, I'm pretty sure, so weird cut, I just stopped the recording, and so, weird cut. I need more coffee. Next book is Famine, which is by Thalassa. I've read the first book of the Bargainer series. Spoiler, that book is going to be reread for a weekend reading vlog at some point in the next few months. But I've also now officially finished this series, because this is book 3 out of 4. And shortly after reading this one, the 4th one had come out, and I read that in January, I think. And so there's not much I can say about this because it's a 3rd book in a series, but basically the world is basically over. It's the apocalypse. The 4 horsemen are coming one at a time, and the only thing that can stop them is love. Famine, I rated 5 stars. Death, I rated 5 stars. Pestilence, I rated 5 stars, though if I were to go back, I would probably rate it 4.5. And War, I rated 4. So, in ranking of the whole series, because I can't really talk about what's happening in this book, it goes Death, Famine, Pestilence, and War for my personal ranking. But I did enjoy this, 5 stars. Do recommend the series. Like, read it, please. It's great. I did mention this series in my newbie book tag, because it was like the series that got me into reading again as an adult. After that is the first one that I changed the rating. The original rating was 3.5, but I'm going to 3. Contemplating going even lower, but like, I'll keep it at 3. And that is The Girl in the Mirror by Rose Carlisle. You can't see the name. What even is there to talk about this book? You missed me wearing a dress that matches her dress on the cover, and she also actually wears it in the book. So that's that. You missed that. This is about Iris and Rose something, I think, or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember their names. I only remember one of their names being Iris, okay? But they are twins, and their father left an inheritance. Like, he was like not a good person, and he left a large inheritance to whichever of his children get married and have a kid first to ensure the continuation of the bloodline. They have one full-blooded brother and then multiple half-siblings with his second wife. And so they're like trying to fight against the clock because the eldest of their half-siblings, who's only like 16 or 17, is being forced into marriage to have a kid. It's this whole like dark thing that's going on. I hear dogs again and such. The sibling that the twin that we follow, she does not have kids. She is just getting divorced, and her twin sister is married, has a stepson with her husband, but that does not count. Though she has just found out she's pregnant, and they are on vacation sailing. Her husband and her stepson are on vacation sailing on a yacht. When the stepson gets really sick, and because she's not a biological parent, the father has to stay with the son for treatment at a hospital in a country that they don't know, and because they don't have proper permits to keep the boat at that country and at those docks and whatnot, she has to continue sailing, but she can't sail alone because she's pregnant and he doesn't want her to sail alone. So she calls up her twin sister, who has experience in sailing, and they decide to sail the yacht, but something happens to the pregnant twin sister, and so then this is all in the synopsis, don't worry, I'm not spoiling anything. So the sister we follow decides to fake being her, and that happens. So she has to like figure out a way fast to get pregnant so that the husband doesn't know that she's not really her, and all this stuff. It's really dark, and the ending like page really got me, which was why it was 3.5. But like looking back, I didn't enjoy most of this. The only part I really enjoyed was the part on the boat, which is weird because I don't boats in me? No. Planes in me? No. So like I really expected not to like that, especially since it was going so slow and it was like the first half of the book. But that was the part that I liked most. But 3 stars. Read it if you want. There's a slow pile growing over there. After that is Hunted by Megan Spooner, which is the other fairy tale retelling. This is Beauty and the Beast. There is, I think the author also wrote a Robin Hood one that I do want to pick up. This gave me more Brave vibes than it did Beauty and the Beast vibes in the beginning, because she has red hair, she's wearing green, and she's hunting with a bow. Okay, like that is Merida from Brave. I haven't read many fairy tale retellings, especially Beauty and the Beast. The only one I can really think of is ACOTAR, and like I had to squint for that one. Like this bitch didn't know how to read. Where was all the library stuff? At least this one had actual library and books, and it was like actually talked about and all that fun stuff. Though the Beast in this did very much remind me of ACOTAR, like the first book in the series, Tamlin. Not after that, but first book, Tamlin, yes. The romance I somewhat got, it was like, I was on the fence of, they did have some chemistry, but there wasn't enough there. They didn't spend enough time building on it. They spent too much time building on her relationship with her siblings, in my opinion, for them to be in here for like 3 chapters. So that was fine. Like, you could have done this stuff in the beginning. I don't know why they needed to have like 3rd act plot thing where she goes back home to her sisters and they have like this whole thing going down. Like, no, you don't have to do that. You could have just spent that time building the relationship with the Beast. And so the ending would make sense. The ending, not here for it. Really don't know what happened really in that cave. Like, Famine, I'm so confused. Also, she didn't even, like, everyone else had to tell her that she was in love with the Beast. Like, it was this whole thing. So 3 stars. I liked it. The writing style was okay. The ending and the plot and the chemistry needed to be built more. That's where I'm leaving that off. That being said, I did like the graphics on the inside when the Beast had, what was it? He had like little journal entries that he was writing, and there was like, so they were like graphics, like full page graphics. The later on you get, the more scratches or blood splatter you get. Here, there's one with scratches. There is writing on this page, I swear. But like this one's scratches. So I liked that part. It looked great. But that was that. After that is the last physical one for part 1, which was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. As you can tell, I annotated both on top and on the side. Reasoning, each part starts with a full page like artwork plus description of artwork, like this. And so I would tab it on top, and then when it would connect to the actual story, I would tab it on the side with the same color. Except I ran out of colors, so then I started to star them. As you can see, like, there's a yellow star, so the second to last part, in the very beginning, like, first chapter, it goes deep into it. I want to reread this so bad. That's gonna happen at some point this year. Maybe the later half of this year, so it's like a whole year since I've read it, but I love this. I rated it 4 stars, though if I were to reread it, it'd probably be 4.5. Because the beginning was slow. The beginning, maybe 25-30%, where it would be all the stuff from the past. So slow, I did not care. When it did start to connect to, like, it stopped, like, it was very, this is so hard to explain, I swear. The very beginning past stuff was all when she was really young, right after the change, all this stuff. But as it progressively got further along into her path, like, further along into the future of the past, so, like, not into 1776, is that even the right year? I don't know. I feel like that's from Outlander. Like, am I just pulling that out of thin air? Yes. So when it was more like the 1800s, 1900s, that stuff, I did like more because it was connecting more to the story, but we needed all that 1700 stuff for, I think it was 1746. I'm gonna figure this out. Give me a hot second. I'll just continue. That's 2014, guys. 1720 was when she was born, so yeah, 1740. But yeah, the early 1700 stuff, like, was important for us to know, like, her background and stuff, but I did not care in the least. When I was starting it, I was having real trouble picking it back up whenever those chapters were happening. Now, basic rundown is Addie in the 1700s is just the only child of a artist who, like, sells his wares. He, like, carves stuff out of wood. But she's got training from, like, the village witch. She lives in small town France, and she wants to become something more than just this lowly girl in this little small town. She learns things from these witch, such as how to pray to different gods to get different things and such. But then she's being forced to be married off to this man she does not want. It will ruin her whole entire future. It will destroy her, all this stuff. So she decides to pray to gods on her wedding night to run away, except there's like this one rule not to pray to them during night. She does not realize the sun is setting when she goes to do it, so she ends up praying to what people call the devil, but I don't think he's the actual devil. I think he's just darkness personified in this book, and he offers her freedom if she gives him her soul when she dies. So it becomes this thing where she's basically immortal, but she, like, people can't remember her. When they look away from her, they forget who she is and all this stuff. So, like, her parents don't remember her, no one remembers her, all this stuff. But because of this, he has to basically low-key torture her. Mostly it's only psychological torture, but still. In order to get her to give up so that he can take her soul. Except that slowly he ends up falling for her. She kind of ends up falling for him. And then in 2014, she ends up meeting this guy who works at a bookstore, and he remembers her. She does not expect this. It turns out he made his own deal, and that's why he can remember her. They start a relationship. It's this whole very beautiful thing. I cried 2 times in like the last 80 pages. Like, it was a time. Really love this. This is going on my favorite shelf. 10 out of 10. Not actually 10 out of 10. Technically 8 out of 10. So will probably become 9 out of 10. After that, we have Jurassic Park. I gotta get something, because I printed off part of the book because it has a lot of graphics in it, and I hung it up. I had it in the background for like 90% of the vlog, but yeah, that's all in the trash now. This also will go in the trash after I finish recording this, but I love this. This is a little graphic that tells you how many of each dinosaur, how many dinosaurs there are supposed to be in total, how many there actually are, and what version they are. And there's supposed to be 238 dinosaurs, but there's 292. But the most important is the raptors, in which there were supposed to be 8, but there's 37. That one line of this graphic is the greatest thing in this whole entire book. I was laughing. I was laughing so hard. Technically, I read this in 2 days, because I read half of it in one day and the other half in another day. Even though there was a day in between that. And I had a time. I really enjoyed this book. This was to, like, see if I like monster horror. I think before this, I thought I did. Basically, at this point, if it's, like, well done and actually has... it either needs to be done one of 2 ways, where it's, like, very magic-based, with a lot of mythology and stuff, like The Only Good Indians, or it needs to be very science-based, like Jurassic Park. Loved it. There was like 45 minutes of me talking about this book in the original version, but most of it was just me comparing it to the movie. I love both of them for different reasons. This book was great. It was hilarious. I think we all know, like, the general story is still the same. There's dinosaurs, there's Dinosaur Park. A bunch of scientists end up going to see if this park is safe, and if the company, InGen, that paid upfront for all this stuff is getting their money's worth. And then there's a guy who's being paid by another company to steal a bunch of stuff, who shuts down parts of the park in order to get away. He ends up dying anyways. But he does this, and because of that, mixed with a storm, everything bad happens. Dinosaurs get out. They find out that there's been a bunch of stuff where dinosaurs are making babies. There was a lot more scientific stuff about how they stopped it from the dinosaurs having kids and all this stuff. Also, there's this whole thing about how there's those 29 extra velociraptors, but they're like all these tiny dinosaurs, like the hippies and dilos and such, don't have like many extras, and there's a reason, and that is because the raptors are eating them. So the raptors are able to get through into the other areas. They don't have the enzyme problem that they genetically engineered the originals that they made in the labs to have, so they can survive on their own. They don't need people. And so basically the eggs and young from all these smaller dinosaurs that are being created by nature, they are eating, which is why there's not many extras of those, but there's plenty of extras of raptors, and that's how they're surviving. There are way less raptor deaths than you'd expect with 29 extra raptors, but, you know, I'm okay with that. The ending, I am not sure how the second book happens with the way the ending was, but, yeah, that's basically that rundown. I rated it 4 stars. I loved it, and now I can throw this graphic out, though I do have a screenshot of it still forever. I will have this screenshot. After that was King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. I rated it 3 stars. I had high hopes. I have been reading this series since spring break of 2020 when we were stuck at home due to the pandemic, and I was reading a lot of books during that time. And I read Red Queen, and then I think beginning of last year is when I read Glass Sword, which is the second one. Warstorm is also in this video, spoiler, that's W. And I've rated all 4 of them 3 stars. The only book that I've rated more than 3 stars is one of the novellas that I rated 4 stars, which was the background of, like, Cal's mother and father's relationship and such. And I really like that. This one, I can't really go much into the series, again, because it's the 3rd book in the series, but basically this one is about, Mare being the prisoner of a certain character. That was basically the whole entire premise. I thought it was going to be more like a psychological look into the main villainous character of the series. We got like mini gays in this one. We got a lot more gays in the last one. I'm so proud of that one. We love a gay queen. Eventually, you're my favorite. I love you. She became my new favorite accidentally. But basically, I think this was the first one that had dual POV, and I did not like who they chose for the second POV, but also I don't care about Mare anymore, and which is I think why I liked Warstorm more. But basically, I expected from what everyone told me, this was going to be the one that was going to be more of like a psychological look into how the villain became the villain, which it was low-key, but instead of actually showing us Mare is smart and her figuring it out, they tell us she's smart, and then he tells her why he's evil. And I'm just not here for it. I don't care. It really just ruined the villain for me, which is a shame, because he was my favorite character until this point. And so, 3 stars. And now we're on to part 2. We're here. We made it. It's finally here. I am playing with my hair too much. In my defense, I just cut it yesterday, so, like, that's why. First book I read for this in 2022, and my favorite of this, and also quite so far my favorite book of the year, still, despite the fact that I read it in like the 2nd week of January, is Legend Born by Tracy Deonn. This is the first of 3 that is classic retellings. This is proof that I do love them, because I rated this 4.5 stars. That being said, I will reread it again this year, and it will probably become 5-star depending on what I think about the sequel, which is coming out at some point this year. But I loved it. If you can't tell by my tabbing, there is, I think, what was the longest one? I think I tabbed like 50 in a row or something like that. That one was 6. That's 4. It's gotta be somewhere back here. 15, 13, 3, 30. Okay, the longest I highlighted in a row, like at least one sentence in a row, on a page, was 30 pages. Like, that's how much I love this. I think his name's Cell, who my favorite character is. He is my baby. I love him. Oh, this is the one whose main character is Bree. I'm dumb. Anyways, this takes part, so Bree is, I think 16 or 17. Her mother recently died in a car accident, and she's going to this, program for really smart teenagers where you basically are going to the, community college. Is it a community college? But the college in the community, where you take basically college courses for credits, and all this stuff. And so she's there with her best friend, and the first night there, accidentally, I think it's the first night there, sees a bunch of, magic stuff, and it's weird, it's questionable. She ends up meeting this guy who is the Legend-born, blah blah blah, scion of Arthur. So basically, it's this whole entire society where there are a bunch of people who are trying to defeat the demons that come through and all this stuff. There's Cell is the Merlin, and I love him. And then there's like the 12 main families that are, and their ancestors are one of the 12 from the Round Table, and I think his name is Nick, is the Legend-born, or no, the Legend-born is the group. I don't. See, this is why I have to reread it before I read the second one. Yes, Nick is his name. He's basically low-key left the group because he doesn't support a lot of the things they do. But his ancestor is King Arthur, so he will have to lead this group at some point. But there's a lot more demon attacks coming, and also Bree can avoid Sel's mind erasing, and also sees magic despite having it, like, that ability awoken in her. So he helps her by becoming her like benefactor, kind of, for the secret society, for her to low-key join to do this competition to become a Legend-born. Her original plan is to leave before she actually becomes one with the group, and the whole entire reason why she's actually here is because she thinks her mother was murdered, because she remembers a Merlin, who is the magic users type people. She remembers a Merlin there affecting her mind when they told her mother died, so she thinks the order killed her mother, and all this stuff, and the fact that she can see magic without them having to awaken that ability in her proves that fact, in her eyes, and all this stuff. Sel thinks that she's secretly a demon, blah blah blah. She is the first Black person ever to be added into this group, so there's like a whole bunch of things about how, like, she's the diversity pledge and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff about diversity pledge and brutality and slavery, and like, I knew the slavery part was coming, like I saw that coming from a mile away, and yet it still hurt a lot. And also the fact that it was written in poetry, beautiful, love it, 10 out of 10. The school itself was a great setting, especially since I'm pretty sure Tracy Dion actually went there, and I love it. Also, I love Sel. But basically there's stuff about Bree's past, her mother that she does not know, or her mother is from a different secret sect where they can, they have this thing called roots magic, where they take magic from the earth itself and do things with it, but it's like not anything crazy like the Legend-born and anything, and that's why she can see the magic, because that was her mother's ability and whatnot. But there's a lot of things that happen in this book, especially in relation on who her mother is. And like her whole background. I was annoyed with Sel's character for the first like 45%. I also have like notes actually written down on like sticky notes in between each part. I was really annoyed with his character because he was just constantly berating her because he thought she was a demon, and all this stuff. But as soon as I started to recognize that it was getting annoying, he finally recognizes that she's not a demon. So, and then he slowly became my favorite character. There is a love triangle that is actually a love triangle. She is both in love with Nick and also has a thing with Sel. And Sel is bi and has previously had a crush on Nick, but has a thing for Bree now, clearly. Like, he doesn't say it, but they clearly have a thing for each other. And then Nick has a clear thing for Bree because they're in a relationship. Which means it's a love triangle. And if the thing in the end that comes out, like one of the things that come out in the end, if you squint really hard at that, technically it could be counted as a triple gay love triangle. That being said, there's so much diversity in this. There's non-binary, there's gay, multiple bi characters, including one of the main characters, and multiple characters of color. She, obviously Bree is one, but also there's a pledge who, or like someone in the legend or someone like that, who is mixed race, and her father was not originally part of the group. Her mother was, and so whenever they go to meetings and whatnot and her father's there, there's always talk about it, but because she is white passing, everyone just ignores it until he shows up, and it's this whole big thing. There is a lot of topics about race and diversity and discrimination in this book. It is beautiful. I love it. Everyone needs to read this. Please, for the love of Batman, please read this. I love it. 4.5 stars. After that was another book that is a classic retelling. This book has basically no ratings on Goodreads. No one has read this book, except for me and my best friend's mom, who lent me this book. I also annotated this one, in the separate parts, but I did it on sticky notes, and then just put them in here. And that is The Man Who Loved Jane Austen by Sarah Smith O'Rourke. I was so close. What is this about? There is Eliza Knight. I think that's her name. Her name's very easy to remember because Pride and Prejudice. But she is an artist in New York City. I do not know how she gets that amount of money to live in New York City as an artist, especially with the apartment she lives in. But basically she goes to an antique store, finds like a vanity table, and she goes to refurbish it and finds some letters in there from Jane Austen to someone named Mr. Darcy. She takes it to someone, God, I really hated her character, who is like an expert on this type thing, who can confirm whether or not that's the real thing. It is. And then she goes to find the heir of the Darcy estate to like get his like sign off that she's going to show off this piece and whatnot, and he tries to buy it for her for like a butt ton of money. And slowly comes out that he is the so-called Mr. Darcy. He accidentally time traveled back to those good old times, had a quick little romance with Jane Austen for like a few days that he was awake when he was there, and then he had to come back as fast as possible, and him and Eliza have a romance based off of their love for Jane Austen. I don't know. It was okay, but I'd just rather reread the actual Pride and Prejudice. It was very much, I read someone else's review of this that said it in a great way, which was, it was Pride and Prejudice, but caricatures of her characters, which means it didn't hit the same way. Like, the whole entire reason why Pride and Prejudice hit so well is because of the characters. And this one couldn't do that. Also, the chemistry felt so weird because he is the whole entire time telling her the story of him being in love with another woman, and that's the caveat for their romance. Like, no, I could never. Was not the biggest fan. 3 stars. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, I hope I pronounced that right, was N. That one also was 3 stars. I liked the world building, and there was a weird character study that went down for, I think her name was Ruth, there was like a weird rabbit hole I went down with that. I liked it, I guess, but I guessed if you look back at my notes, there's like a part where I quite literally write either organ donations or, like, weird adoption thing with slavery and whatnot. I was right. It says it kind of pretty early on, but it's organ donations. Basically, there's these schools, they clone these people, raise them as children, into adulthood, and then do surgery on them to take their organs to give to other people. And that is their whole entire purpose. They cannot have kids of their own, all this stuff. And it's about this main character's past, present, and future. It's told in a very weird way. The language used sometimes is very odd, and very repetitive, and very back and forth, and I really did not like that. Like, she would be saying, like, this reminds me of this time, or this event, but then she'd be like, but I haven't told you about this, so then you have to go back. Then she goes back and retells you that whole entire story for, like, a whole entire chapter, and then when you get back to the original point, you forget the original point and why this story is being told. This was very confusing, but it's basically about this friendship / relationship she was having, how they found out that they're basically organ donations. For most of this book, she is a carer, which basically are the people who care for the people who give donations. Despite the fact being raised as a donator, most donators start off as the carers and all this stuff. She's from this world-renowned school who shut down, and there's this whole thing about how they should treat the kids as people when they're actually kids instead of just factories, though now they treat them like factories again. It was supposed to be this whole thing on what it means to be human and all this stuff, but I just couldn't get into the writing style, so I gave it 3 stars. After that was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Apparently I like magical realism. Also, apparently I really like Neil Gaiman's writing style. The main problem I had with this book is the break I took. I got sick in the middle of reading this, despite it's a small book, so I originally planned to read it like back to back in 2 days and be done. It took me a few days because I was sick in the middle, so I couldn't really read much. I just listened to an audiobook, I'm pretty sure, on the days in the middle. So that kind of ruined the enjoyment, because I was like really loving it, and then it just hit a hard stop because I was sick. So the tone and the energy and just the flow of the book kind of just hit a hard stop, so it didn't hit as much for the second half or whatever much that I read in that second day, which is really sad because I really was enjoying it. Basically it's about this guy who goes home for a funeral, ends up going to the end of this lane, that he ends up going to this house and talking to this woman, and he goes to the pond, aka the ocean at the end of the lane, and remembering everything that happened in his childhood that has to do with magical people and stuff, but every time he leaves the ocean, he forgets, and it's beautiful, and I liked it, and I will read more Neil Gaiman's, but it's just that middle of me being sick and like ruining the flow of the book really ruined it for me, so 3.5 stars. Then after that we got the first, please scroll properly, thank you. We have the first book I did not like. I'm gonna drink more coffee because my throat's getting dry. So far this is an hour long and I am sorry. I'm not, like, you know, it's better than the 10 hours. First one I did not like fully did not like. I think it's tied for last place because the other one I really did not like had the same star rating, which is 2 stars, with People Like Her by Ellery Lloyd, which is a husband-wife writing duo, which the best part of this book was the husband-wife characterizations in this, and that's because they are very clearly based off of the real-life husband-wife duo who wrote this. This is about a Insta mom who ends up being harassed and stuff online by this person, or kind of like that's what I got the idea from. And it's supposed to be like this thriller mystery type thing, and a bunch of stuff happens. That's basically all I can tell you. I did not like it. This is super short. There would be random parts written from the point of view of the perpetrator that we did not know who their identity was the whole entire time. And it was just so weird. Like, things would happen in the Insta mom's life, like robberies, break-ins, all this type of stuff. People stealing their identities online. And, like, it made sense that it was the perpetrator who was doing all this stuff till the big finale, but it was all these other people, which means they were being attacked by like 3-4 people at once. I did not like this. I really hated the characters. Characters really ruined it for me. Like, for me to really be invested in a mystery thriller like this, I have to be invested in the characters. But I hated every character except for the children because they're children. Also, the ending was real bad. I shouldn't be surprised. The ratings on Goodreads were very low. I think they're like 3.5 or something like that. But, like, The Boyfriend Project has low ratings, and I loved it, so I had high hopes still. But, no, I didn't like this one. 2 stars. Do not recommend. After that was one that I loved. This is the other one that the rating got changed. I annotated the living daylights out of this. I forgot how much I annotated this. This is apparently my new favorite YA fantasy series. Despite the fact that I've only read book 1 and book 2 scares me. Especially based off the synopsis. This is Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. I found the Durst. okay, so this is, if you like world building and magic systems, if those are really important things for your fantasy books, highly recommend. The magic system, this is quite possibly the greatest magic system I've read in a long time. The only magic system that can compare is Mistborn, and I've only read book 1 of Mistborn. So, like, it's so good. This was originally 3.5, but I upped it to 4 stars because I just cannot stop thinking about this. Basically, there's a bunch of magical elements. Here, I'm pulling it up. Don't worry, fam. I gotta find it. That's the map. I'll find it. Don't worry, kids. Delina is the main female character's name. Right, got that. So, there's spirits of fire, ice, water, air, earth, and wood. Delana, there's a lot of murder in this book. There's the amount of murder that was in this, I was expecting in Dark of the West. Basically, when she's a child, the spirits attacked her village, and the only people to survive were her and her family because she accidentally used, magic to stop the spirits. There's every female, when they're a child, is tested to see if they have this magic. The queen is the most powerful of them, because they can control the spirits and all this stuff and protect people. And not every female has this power, but no man has, like, it's only females that can have this power. And apparently she was tested when she was younger, but they didn't come up with anything and all this stuff. But basically all the most powerful, I think it's like 12 of these females, when the queen dies, get together, do this ritual to figure out which is the most powerful. They get bestowed upon all this power from the spirits to increase their power levels, and then they become the queen. The queen is supposed to protect the people from attacks. Clearly the queen is failing at her job. And the level that she's failing at her job is very extreme. Basically, I, like, really want it in the sequels to go into the other kingdoms, but based off the synopsis of the second one, don't think that's gonna happen. But basically, Delina, it goes through her life, a lot of time jumps, where it goes from, like, her family her family doesn't die, but her whole entire village dying, a lot of attacks and stuff, and then eventually Ven, who is this part of this guard system that attack the spirits when they attack and all this stuff, who is the queen's ex-lover, he is like, he goes, after that main first attack, goes to the queen and is like, hey, what's going on? And she is just basically banishes him. And so after some time, they run into each other again, Ven and Delina, and he decides that she should get some actual training and whatnot. I think that's how they run into each other. I don't remember. So she gets actual training. She goes to an actual school for all of this. There's a lot of time jumps about her until she reaches the page, or reaches the point of being like 18, 19, 20. Basically, a bunch of guards are getting together to train girls, so they each choose one girl. And she doesn't think she's going to be chosen all this stuff because she doesn't have enough power, despite the fact that she has the heart to do it and all this stuff. But Ven shows up and takes her and starts training her. She gets all this training. There's this one spirit called the Earth Kraken. Love that boy. Who she's the only one who can sense it. It's doing a bunch of damage. There's a bunch of political intrigue. A lot of people die. There's also a pet dog. We love the pet dog. Love this. 4 stars. Highly recommend. I'm surprised not as many people have read it. I also just, this beautiful site just gives me so much happiness. I love all that tapping. I will continue the series at some point, but I'm currently scared too, so at some point. After that, we got the sequel to Bring Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. It is a rogue of one's own, still want to call it our own. Every single time I filmed a clip for this, I had to stop myself from saying a rogue of our own. Just hear me out. That sounds better. So since reading the first book in this series, I have started to read Tessa Dare. And I love Tessa Dare. This is definitely more of a Tessa Dare vibe than her first book. which makes sense because, like, she's had more practice in writing. She's narrowed it down. She's also got more comedy, and the chemistry in this one is much better. I kind of just want to reread this one just for the chemistry. Like, it was so good. So good. Did it take a long time for it to get there? Like, could that whole entire ball scene just be... Whoop? Yes. Yes, it could have. But I still love it. So this is about the leader of the Blue Stocking group, who is just trying to live her best life. She has raised a bunch of money to buy half of a publishing company so she can sell and publish pamphlets for the Blue Stocking group. Except the 1/4 of the company is owned by Tristan, her arch nemesis, and the guy who always had a crush on her, though she does not know that. There is a part where, when they were kids, he dunked her hair into ink and all this stuff, and she complains about it to him, like, later on in the book, and he's like, yeah, that was just an excuse to touch your hair, and, like, Tristan knows what he's doing, okay? I'm just saying that. She would agree. Hear me out. Basically, he owns 25%. He learns that she's trying to buy the majority ownership so that she can do this. So he buys the other 25%, so that they own equal parts, so that he does not ruin it, because he is using this publishing company to earn money so that he can leave his father behind and stop the abuse that is happening there. And especially since he's the new heir since his brother died and all this stuff. But he was in a war. He got, like, he was in the army, got some, like, honorary stuff, blah, blah, blah. There's, like, war journals that she talks him into publishing, but there's also a bunch of love poems and stuff. And so basically he wants, because the love poems are published through this publishing company, he doesn't want to go downhill, so that he can continue his earning. So they have equal shares of the company, so she can't do this unless like, he agrees, and he won't agree. But it becomes this thing where he agrees to give her 1% if she sleeps with him. And eventually she does agree, but then he finds out she hasn't ever been with a man, and it becomes this whole thing, and then they start a relationship. After that, he tries to, like, he doesn't want to be with her because one of his very few rules is not to be with a virgin and all this stuff. And then some things happen. There's a cute cat. The cat is a very important character. Hear me out. They start a relationship. He ends up helping her out with the blue stocking stuff, like replying to letters and stuff. And he realizes how important her work is and how he, like, screwed up by interfering with that. He does give her his 1% eventually, but they also start a relationship. The main question of this was because the main thing that she's trying to end is this marriage act. So there's no way she would get married until this marriage act was removed. And he clearly wants to marry her, especially since he's an heir and all this stuff. It's like this whole big thing, and I was worried about it. They find a way around it, and I love it. We stan Tristan. I love this book. Also, Tristan's gay. Did I mention that he's bi? Well, he doesn't say that he's bi, but he has clearly he mentions multiple times that he has slept with men. It's very much like I forget his name, but the main character in Guide to... I don't remember the name of it. Here, let me go grab it. It's right over here. Reminds me of Barty from The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Is very much the characterization that's the wrong way, Tristan reminds me of. Except I like Tristan more. Also, the romance in this is just top tier. That being said, it is so long, unnecessarily long. It could have cut out most of the ball scene because that was unimportant. Like, the one very important part could have stayed, or, like, moved at a different point and gotten the same effect. So that's, like, my only complaint. But rated it 4 stars? Yeah, 4 stars. Alright, after that was Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks. I'm still very confused on what was happening in the ending. It was oddly paranormal for the ending. So now I have to read another Nicholas Sparks to see if that's a common thing in his books. That being said, I have figured out which one I'm going to read. I think it's Every Breath is the name of it. It was already on my TBR. So I was like, you know what? Might as well. What do I have to say about this book? Rated 3 stars. My favorite part about this was the narrator, because I read it physically and through audiobook at the same time. The narrator was great. And honestly, I was really happy after I figured out, like, I went through her backlog on my Libby app. And a few books that I'll be reading in future on this channel that I was scared about, she narrates. And so now I'm happy. She is great at this. This is about Katie, who has moved to the small town Southport in North Carolina. She works in this like small little diner as a waitress. She is running away from her abusive husband. She has like a fake name and fake identity, but she ends up starting a relationship with the ex-military detective. Like, he investigated cases that involved military men in the military. Like, he originally joined the military and then that happened. But now he owns / runs the general store. He is a single father of 2. His wife died, I think, of cancer. It's her, like, family store that he runs now. He's had a thing for her forever. Her neighbor, Joe, tells her to go for it, and she does. Alex is the store owner's name, okay. I'm looking at the back of the book. For once, the back of the book is actually helping. But her husband eventually finds her. The narrator, when it comes to the husband's chapters, she got down his chaotic brain so good. I could not do it better. It was okay. The romance was there. Yeah, I get why this is popular, why Nicholas Sparks is popular. It just wasn't my favorite thing, so 3 stars. Though I will read another of his books because I am very intrigued by that ending. What? I don't know. Also, I forget his name. I gotta figure out his name. But the husband, I just want Kevin. I thought it was Kevin. Kevin, I just want a chapter, or not a chapter, I just want a book from Kevin's point of view, because Kevin is my favorite character. Not in, like, I actually like his character or anything he does. He's not a good person at all, and completely crazy. But, hear me out. Kevin, he's an interesting character psychologically. Like, love that. Coffee break, part 3. There goes all my coffee. I need more. So sad. Now all my breaks are gonna have to be normal water. Now, God, the mess that is my bed right now. We're throwing all the books. That's gonna be fun to clean up. After that was These Violent Delights, the 3rd and last classic retelling. This is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. This takes place in 1920s? Yep, 1920 Shanghai. There is a bunch of gang turf stuff going on between Roma's family and the Scarlet Gang. Juliet Chai is the leader, like she's the heir to the Shanghai group, the Scarlet Gang. And then the White Flowers is Roma Montagov's family's Russian gang, and he is the heir of that one. They had a relationship when they were teenagers, but there was some betrayal. Murder happened because of it. But now they have to work together again as adults. She has recently returned to Shanghai, and that is because, she hasn't returned because of this, but the reason they have to work together is because there's a sickness that is causing murders of a bunch of people. It does not care what race or side of the war you are on. It's just straight up murdering people. There is a lot of weird fantasy stuff. Also, gays, hidden gays. If it ends up queer baiting us in the sequel, I will cry. I do have to read the sequel. We'll do that. I love this cover so much. Dear God. But there's also a transgender character we stan. this I rated 3.5 stars. I liked it. It just took way too much to get into. And I just wanted more between Juliet and Roma. We got like almost none of that romance. And that's basically my thoughts on that. It is time to the one person who I mentioned that my thoughts on this book are going to be in this vlog. It is time. You are here. It is time for The Unhoneymooners. It may be my least favorite book because at least I wasn't expecting greatness from people like her. But I was expecting greatness from The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. It has like 4.0, like a solid 4.0 on Goodreads. And I hated it. This is the point where we talk about my problem with trust and honesty, and how that is very important for me in romance, both in real life and in books. Now, was there problems with trust and honesty in, The Boyfriend Project? Yes. But it made sense why, and he does some stuff to make up for it. On Honeymooners, girl, run. Is all I can say. I hate it. I hate it so much. The part at the end at the diner, if it had ended there and like left off on a cliffhanger where you get to make up your own mind, which way it goes, on whether or not she takes him back, would have been fine with that. But they end up back together, and then there's like an epilogue where they end up being engaged, and I hate it here. I am actually going to figure out the characters' names because I am actually livid for this one. And I have opinions. I'm so mad. What are their names? Give me names. Olive. That's her name. I remember his name was Ethan, but I didn't remember what her name. Like, I thought it was Olive, but I was like, it's either Olive or Olivia. Which makes sense because he calls her Olivia. I love how Goodreads tells me this is like the hating game, which I also did not like the hating game as much as I thought I would, though I give that one 3 stars. Though they did remind me of each other, the writing style. That being said, writing style itself, great. The chemistry when they were still in Hawaii, great. It's when everything afterwards that, get out of here, please. Olive, run. Run, girl, run. Basically, Olive is a twin. And it starts off with her twin's wedding with Ethan's brother. I think it's his younger brother. I don't remember. But they're getting married. It's this whole thing. There's like this whole thing about luck and unlucky, blah, blah, blah. But basically, Ethan does not like to eat at buffets. And Olive is allergic to seafood. So neither one of them can eat the shrimp buffet. So they get individual like meals while everyone else eats the seafood buffet, and they all get food poisoning, like really bad food poisoning for like weeks. And because of that, Olive and Ethan have to go on the non-refundable honeymoon, and they have to pretend to be in a relationship. At this point, she has just been fired, and so she's trying to, or laid off, so she's trying to find a new job. And before they get on the plane to go to Hawaii, she gets a call back that says that she got the job and all this stuff. And then when she gets there and she's hanging out in the spa, she ends up seeing is it CEO? I don't know. Of the company that she now works for, that she just got a job for. And it ends up this whole weird thing because she has to pretend to be fake married so that the company doesn't sue her and all this stuff. Or like the honeymoon, the hotel and whatnot, because it's a free honeymoon. And but it causes this whole problem for her future workplace and whatnot. They are forced to go to a dinner with him as a couple. And then when they're leaving the dinner, they run into Ethan's ex from like 6 months ago, who like he proposed to, and then she said no, and now she just got married. So he's got some stuff going down with that. Turns out, like, over time, they're, like, growing a romance and why they clearly have an attraction for each other. He's always had a thing for her. She thought he always hated her because of her body and whatnot, because she's slightly, like, bigger, she's more curvy and all this stuff. So she thought that he didn't like her because of that and all this. And it turns out he's always had a thing for her. He's just staying away because, his brother told him to, like, it would be weird if he was dating his girlfriend's twin, like, type thing, was like the vibe I was getting. But he told him that not to go for, he like should stay away because Olive is just a bitch and you should not like doing that. And Olive gets upset about all this, and then she learns that Ethan's brother had been dating other people up until like right before the wedding. And she very strongly believes her sister did not know this. Ethan believes that she did, and it was an open relationship until that point. And they just end up continuing their relationship and putting it on pause until then. Turns out Ethan's brother did a lot of bad stuff, and she figures this out. She tells multiple people. Like, there's a legit point when Ethan's in the bathroom where his brother is like hitting on her and asking, like, telling her if she wants to like switch places with her sister at some point, like he can make that happen and all this stuff. Okay, and she tells Ethan, and Ethan does not believe her. And then she like figures out the extent of all the stuff that he's done, tells both Ethan and her sister. Both of them do not believe her. Eventually, her sister comes around and she's like, "Aw, shit, you right." They do this whole entire thing. The greatest scene in this book where basically they call all the girlfriends. There's like 3 of them, and they all show up to the house around the same time that Ethan's brother shows up home. And then Ethan shows up and he's all like, "Oh shit, you were right all along. I'm sorry." I'm like, no, you do not put me through all that emotional turmoil to just be like, "I'm sorry." I'm so mad at Ethan, okay? I am so mad. The trust issues here. I could not, like, trust this man as far as I could throw him. And he's 6 foot, okay? Like, I could not trust this man. If he is not willing to respect and trust my opinions, my thoughts, my knowledge, he does not deserve me, okay? Like, I am so mad at Ethan. I hope this is what you wanted, okay? When I said that I had thoughts and I was gonna go off on them, I hope this is what you wanted. You one person who I told about this, okay? Anyways, he tries to apologize and all this stuff. Her sister is like, "I mean, maybe you should give him a second chance." I'm sitting here like, no, she should not. And she agrees. Like, does she miss him and all this stuff? Yes, but like, he hurt her and badly, and he does not deserve all this fun stuff. And then he shows up to her place of work and does this whole entire stunt and all this stuff. And it's first you mess up with my heart and then you mess up with my money. No. Anyways, that part is the part where like if it cut off when he was like, "Okay, please, and like choose me, love me." That was Grey's Anatomy, not this book. And just left off there without her reply, I would have been happy. Because I could have been like, "Nah, bitch," and punch him in the face or something. I don't know. I wanted to fight people for her so hard, okay? I'm not an angry person, but I wanted to fight. I was ready to throw down. Anyways, she says yes, and they end up together, and they end up being engaged by the end of the book. I do not understand how she should ever trust this man ever again. Also, the fact that her whole entire family, including her twin sister, helped make this plan and helped him like get her back, proves that they also do not like respect her views and relationships and such. Like, she clearly does not want to be with this man. Do not try to set her up with this man again. Like, no, I hated it. 2 stars. I think it's very clear that this should be on the bottom of the list, and then people like her should be like right above it, because I was so hopeful. This is the first Christina Lauren I've ever read. Will I read others? Probably, but like, I hate it here. And I'm just very glad I didn't buy the book. That's all I'm gonna say. That's my final thoughts. I did not have a good time. That being said, it was a fast read, and the writing style was good, so I'll read other Christina Lauren's. Just, like, make it so that my trust issues do not come out, okay? Like, fam, I have one hope and one dream, and that's to get away from my trust issues. Funny joke. Next book I read, much happier. And that's because it's a reread. That's Vampire Academy. I really have to get the anniversary edition with the, like, blood dripping rose and whatnot. I love that cover. God. This just reminds me of the horrid time that is the movie. Though, right after I finished filming clips for this one, I have found out that there is a new TV show that's being made around this. And I'm so happy. Oh my god, you do not understand how happy. If it's an actual true adaptation, I'm here, and I think it is. This is about Rose Hathaway. Wait, no, that's Lissa. That's Rose Hathaway, and that's Lisa Dragomir, aka Lissa. They are best friends. A short while ago, Lissa's parents and brother died in a car crash. Lissa and Rose were also in the car when it happened. This is like my childhood favorite book. I have the whole entire series. I've only read up to like all the way through book 3. I've not read any of the other 3 books. And this year my goal is to try to finish the series finally, once and for all. Basically, Lissa's whole family dies in a car crash. She is now the heir of this very important family. The last living member of this family, which means a lot of money, but also a lot of political stuff, where she could very easily become the next queen. She is a vampire. There's different sects, so there's the Dehampiers, which are the half human, half vampire type thing, that Rose is, that are basically have like strength and speed and agility and all this stuff from the vampire side, but also other things from the human side, I don't know, to help protect the Moroi, which is what Lissa is, which are vampires. Technically, they don't like get hurt if they go in the sunlight, like it just stings a little bit or something like that, but they have like magic, and they are based around life and all this stuff, and they don't kill when they drink blood. They have elemental magic, all this stuff, but they protect the Moroi from the Strigoi, which are the evil vampires that are basically death. They can't use magic. They kill people when they drink blood. They generally become like Moroi can become Strigoi by killing someone from drinking blood, as well as Strigoi can turn other people, a lot of humans and stuff. The Strigoi currently have this goal, well, always have a goal to like kill all the Moroi. Moroi are dying out because there aren't enough Dehampiers to protect them. Well, there are, but like there's this whole thing with not even just politics, but just the treatment, especially of the female of the Dehampiers. So that happens. Lissa was not really in trouble, but she was, there may have been her life in danger, so they run away from the school, and stuff. And so when this book starts out, Rose and Lissa have just been found by the school again after, I think, 2 years. And Lissa has a new protector who is like this basically god in the Dehampiers psych group and whatnot, called Dimitri, who is 6'4". I assume he's 6'4". I'm going with 6'4". Beautiful. Love him. This is what started my obsession with tall, dark, mysterious men with traumatic childhoods who could destroy me. This is also the book that gave me a thing for beautiful, strong women who could destroy me. So either one, I'd be down with either one. You know, Rose, Dimitri, either one. I'm down. Rose and I could have a time. Listen, we got the same names and everything. But basically, she has to relearn and go to school and stuff to officially become Lissa's protector when they graduate and all this stuff. And it's this whole thing, but there's also a bunch of attacks against Lissa. There's school politics, there's actual politics, there's attacks. At one point, Lissa gets kidnapped by someone and her life's in danger. There's a bunch of animal murder, weird magic like stuff going down, secret stuff. Rose using her big brain to figure this stuff out, and I still love it. I originally had it rated as 4 stars on Goodreads, and I was like, I'm probably gonna rate it 5 stars. It's like a favorite. It's almost a favorite. It's like almost perfect. It's just under perfect. So 4.5 stars. That's what I'm going with. I love it though. And I don't think that can be ruined at this point. Like, this is my Harry Potter, okay? Bye. After that was Warstorm, which is the longest book for this video. It's so long. Can't really talk about that plot either because it is the last book of the series, other than the 400-page novella book, Broken Throne. I will read that at some point this year so I can be done with this series. Rated at 3 stars, I already said that. basically this is the just main final end, who gets what, blah blah blah. And Evangeline becomes my favorite character. I love her so much. We stand a gay icon. Okay, also, don't hate Mare as much. Well, hate is a strong word. I disliked her. I generally have that problem with a longer series, with a YA protagonist. I usually end up hating her at one point, because I just get annoyed, with the constant stuff. And at this point, one, I like her a lot more in this one, and two, like, finally, we are shown that she's smart, not told that she's smart. And two, there's like 5 POVs in this book. We got Mare, we got Evangeline, we got Cal, we got Maven, and we got Iris. That is 5. I almost forgot about Iris. But anyways, Evangeline's my favorite character. Love her. Cal can fight me with the end of book 3, okay? Again, with my trust issues. Okay, let's heck and go, fam. But honestly, hilarious when they make up and they're in the middle of this, like, the main final battle. Like, shit's going down, and they finally make up. And so all these explosions and water exploding and water going everywhere as they're on a bridge, blah, blah, blah. And they just hug. Because they made it up. It's so sweet. I was laughing. I was laughing really hard at that. I liked it, I guess. It, honestly, up there really high from favorite of the series. If I were to do hierarchy of the series, it would go Red Queen, Red Storm, what? Red Queen, War Storm, King's Cage, and then Glass Sword. And here's the reasoning. Red Queen, honestly really good. Also short. It's like half the length of War Storm, okay? Like, but also it's really good. The ending still hits hard. If I were to read it now, I think if I were to reread it and, like, knowing the things that I know, I'd be like, oh, hot damn, I love this, 10 out of 10. Not really 10 out of 10, but love it a lot more. Warstorm, just actually, much more my speed, and also Victoria Aveyard's writing really comes out on this one. Love her in general, so, like, I really wanted to like this series, trust me. I love her TikToks. She is hilarious. But we'll definitely pick up one of her other series. I think I know which one I'm going to read next. So, you know, and then King's Cage, was okay. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it did its job. It technically did what it said it was going to do. And then Glass Sword just felt like a 400-page side quest. That whole entire book was just all the side quests from, like, an RPG game or something, happening at once for 400 pages. Like, the only part I liked was the very end. And that's just because it set up King's Cage. Like, I just didn't care. I didn't care, at all. I was not having time, which is sad because there's, like, a lot of important character deaths and character development that happens in this book. But I can't make myself care because it was just a bunch of side quests. Like, it was just 4 different, novellas thrown into one book. It was Broken Throne, but as an actual book in the series. Wasn't the biggest fan of that one. So that's Warstorm. After that was XOXO by XEO, which is K-pop star, and I think she's a cellist. Romance in high school. Basically, they meet at one night in LA. She works at the karaoke bar or is it a bar? Karaoke place that her uncle owns. And so, like, before she leaves one night, she has to kick out whoever is in this room who is overstaying the amount they paid for. And I'm calling him Jay, was there. What was her name? See, this is a problem. I can't remember names. I can remember plot, but I can't remember names. I call him Jay because there's no way I'm going to actually pronounce his actual name, his Korean name, because that's the only name he has. Jenny is a cellist and works hard to be a cellist and all this stuff. That's basically her whole entire life. But they have, like, this whole night out, have a good time. There's a lot of, like, hinting at, like, because we know as readers that he's a K-pop star. She does not. She's not a part of that world. And so there's, like, they're out to dinner at one point, and some girl comes up, and she's like, hey, I know you. And, like, we as a reader and Jay are just like, oh, shit. The trip is up. Oh no. Meanwhile, they're actually there for Jenny. They saw Jenny play at some performance and really liked her playing and all this stuff. And that happens multiple times. It's honestly really funny. But after that night, he leaves, goes back to Korea. South Korea, I believe. Let me check. It just says Korea. Okay, fine. I see how it is. South Korea. Yeah, it says South Korea if I pull down the list. So, a few months later, her grandmother is sick. She has cancer, and her mom has to go to South Korea to take care of her. And she plans to leave Jenny behind, but Jenny's like, nah, I want to go. I can do, like, all this stuff. I can go to this art school, all this stuff. And so she ends up going to South Korea, goes to a private school there for musicians and such. Has an actual friend group. She has a good time. She becomes friends with 2 of the other K-pop band members of XOXO. That's what the book's called, XOXO. Her and Jay have a secret relationship. It's honestly very cute. Love the writing. I know EXO just came out with like a new book, so definitely gonna read that at some point because I love her writing in this book. It very much reminds me of In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens, which I also rated 4 stars. This book I also rated 4 stars. Should mention that. Very much remind me of that, and that was like one of my favorite books last year. So, you know, no surprise that I really, really, really enjoyed this one. 4 stars. Do recommend if you want like a quick, cute, a YA romance that's just like cute little thing. Like there's no like hardcore no fancy, no. I mean, I guess low-key death, but like there's like nothing crazy. Like this is all just normal people life things. I mean, I guess K-pop star is not being a normal person life thing, but whatever. Enjoyed it. Will recommend. After that was the last physical book, which is Self-Help. This is a book that my friend lent me. She is not as much as a reader as I am, so when she pre-ordered this book, you know, it was a big deal. It is You'll Get Through This Night by Daniel Howell, famous YouTuber. It's basically a self-help book about mental health and stuff with a mix of personal stories / jokes from him and actual research he did that's looked over by an actual person in this field and whatnot. The first 2 parts I loved. It was great. It was a perfect mix of comedy and actual important stuff. The third part was way less comedy, way more actual stuff, so it just felt way more sluggish because the comedy was keeping it going, and which was sad because it was really good until that part, and the writing style great, comedy great. I have the same type of comedy style as him though, so like not unexpected, but loved it. Well, loved it, strong word. Though this is the first self-help book that I'm ever reading. I've read one other and I never rated it, and I'm going with 4 stars. I liked it. Do recommend if it's a type of book you want / need. And pretty good. After that was the one that's kind of complicated. So finding a book that started with Z was very difficult. I ended up joining a Storygraph group where they're just reading books that start with different letters of the alphabet, kind of what I'm doing for this, but in a year. I did it in 6 months in between 2 years. Or in between a year. So, in between 2 years. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I've been talking too much. But basically, I was trying to figure out what to do. I originally did have Zodiac Academy The Awakening as the first one, but then Goodreads changed it so it's just The Awakening, and the name of the series was Zodiac Academy. But Storygraph still has that Zodiac Academy called The Awakening, and everyone on Storygraph agreed, yeah, Zodiac Academy counts. So I read the first Zodiac Academy book, which is a bully romance. I knew this going in. Still, no. The bully part, no. Orion, we stand. Orion, we stand. Caleb, we're on the fence. Everyone else can go be thrown in a volcano or something. Except for Darius, because he's a dragon, so he can't burn if I throw him in a volcano. I wouldn't actually be surprised if there is an actual volcano at this school. Basically, it follows 2 twins. Again, Tori and Darcy. They just turned 18. They've been switched throughout the foster care system. They are orphans. They live in New Orleans. That's the weirdest part about the writing, is that the authors are British, but the twins are from New Orleans. So a lot of the terminology or language or way things are written is a little weird, more British than American English, but that's fine. Another thing is that I could have done with one more edit, but that's also fine, like whatever. Though the authors, which are, Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, are actual sisters. Did not know this when I started it, so that makes sense on why the sister relationship between Tori and Darcy, best relationship in this book, no one can tell me otherwise. Basically, they just turned 18, and all this stuff, and they do not know it, but they are Fae, and when, a Fae turns 18, like, their powers awaken, so, they're able to be tracked. Orion, which is a professor at the school, and also a vampire, shows up, finds them, takes them back to the academy to get their inheritance and all this stuff. Basically, the way it works is if they go through the whole entire Zodiac Academy for 4 years, survive it all, and stuff, they will get their inheritance, which is a lot of money, which as poor, orphans living almost on the street, yeah, that's important to them. They are changelings, so they did not know that they were Fae. They do not know what type of magical being, like, between, like, Pegasus and dragon and vampire and werewolf and siren and, like, there's a bunch of them. They do not know which one of those they are. But, there's also elemental magic, and each person has one. Some have two. It is very rare to have more than two. Their father apparently had 3. Their father was basically the evil king of this land until both their biological parents, were murdered. Before that, they switched out the twins for human twins, to keep them safe. But both their parents were brutally murdered. Both sets of parents were brutally murdered, actually. And so, part of the inheritance is, like, this whole entire land that they know nothing about. But their father had abilities in 3, and their mother was just an air user. She was, like, not a political marriage, it was actual love, which is rare. They show up to the awakening, which is where you figure out which magical power you fall under, and they both have all 4, which, like, has never happened before. And so it's this whole big thing. They have to choose which one they want to go for as their, like, specialization, but they have to separate because the school is dumb. So, I think it's Tori who goes for fire and Darcy that goes for air. The Caleb he's not water, so he's earth. Is a vampire. He basically owns Tori, as a living blood bag, and eventually Orion owns Darcy as a blood bag, but that's more to protect her type thing. And basically they don't know how they regenerate their power, they just know that they can, depending on what order you are, it depends on how you regenerate your power. For vampires, it's suck people's blood to take their magic from them, so that's why it's, like, real difficult. They don't know how to regenerate their power, yet, where I'm at, in a series. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to continue this series, I'm not sure. Basically, they are attacked, bullied, assaulted in so many ways, and it's just not a good time. I just really want them to come to their full strength, their power, and get their darn justice, and Darcy to recognize that Orion is I don't care if it's against the rules of the school, they're technically 18, do it, do him. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the romance aspect. Caleb's okay, I guess. The chemistry's there between him and Darcy, or not Darcy, him and Tori. But the emotional stuff, especially with how the book ended, I'm not so sure. Darius and Seth can get thrown into a tsunami. 1, because of the ending, but 2, because Darius is a dragon, so throwing them in a volcano would not work. Seth is a werewolf, so he could also drown. So, tsunami, is what I'm going with. I do not like either one of them. Caleb, I'm on the fence with, what's the other one? There's 4 heirs, and I don't remember what the 4th one name is. We, like, never see him. I think it's Max or something like that. He can also get thrown in the tsunami. Though I think he's a siren, so I'll actually throw him in the volcano. So, that's that. Basically, the 4 heirs, they are after their biological parents died, the 4 head families that were basically the people right underneath the king, equally split up duties and whatnot to co-rule this land. And the heirs are their sons who will take over, but with the twins found, they can take their whole entire livelihood from them, blah blah blah. It's this whole big thing. But there's also like the theory that Darius's family killed their biological family. It's this whole big thing. I didn't care. My favorite part was the magic system and Tori and Darcy's relationship. If it was, see, here's the thing. I've read a bully romance, like a few of them, and I either really love them or really hate them, and I didn't like the bully romance aspect. My favorite romance is the one with the least amount of bullying in it. There has to be a reason for the bullying that, like, makes me respect, like, not really respect, but understand why these characters had to go through these things and why they put them through these things, so that when they do fall for them, like, I can understand why. There has to be, like, a deeper meaning. Like, I know the meaning. No, it's not good enough. Goodbye. Get out of here. Now, did not like it for most of the book. I thought it was going to be a 2-star, but the last 100-ish pages were actually good. That being said, this is so long. It's like 400 plus pages. Like, why is this book so long? Going with 3 stars. Not my favorite, but I guess I'll maybe one day continue the series if someone talks me into it. That is that. That is almost 2 hours long, because I stopped recording at one point, and that was at half an hour. This is at 1:24. So, almost 2 hours. And I'm sorry for that. My voice is almost dead. But, it is done. We never have to think about this ever again. And that I am very happy with. So I'm gonna go quickly edit it and upload it. And also finish making the thumbnail. The thumbnail's almost done. Actually like the background, so, like, hear me out. I'm doing actual good work right now. Stay tuned for next week's video, because there's actually a next week's video that I already know it's gonna be, and trust me, it's gonna be better than this mess, and most likely shorter.